Yeah, so is it new? It's codified. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
Yeah, cool.
I would have preferred new stuff, but that's just me.
Oh, I'm still ready to read it. I can't wait to read
Oh, I'm
the
pumped. I'm
Dungeon
pumped.
Master
It's not on the shelf
Catechist.
because I'm current because it's downstairs where I'm going to read it. Yeah.
Yep. So that'll be fun. And then we can talk more about those videos. So where did we leave this session for the like cliffhanger moment for the viewers out
You
there?
guys are exploring a hallway full of traps, just like traps, 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 traps.
Old school D&D.
Old school D&D exploration. This is not by the book, but I enforced dungeon turns. It takes you 10 minutes to do a thing. We're not in, I'm not going to hold you to your movement speed, but what is your character doing right now? Cool. This is how that resolves. What is your character doing right now? And I did it around the table, which is just like, like poker rules. It's easy to see.
Yeah.
You go first, you go next, you go next, you go next. What's your character doing? And sometimes the answer was like waiting, nothing, and that's a totally acceptable answer.
Or trying to coordinate something with another player character, and then you kind of like skip your turn and you order it so that you can coordinate something because your character's physically in a different
Yes.
adjacent or in the same hallway as that character. You
And
want
it's and
help.
it's like it's a loose container, right?
Yeah,
Like your character walked past Patrick's character, so he's like, "Oh, can I do this?" Or and he was like, "Oh, I'll wait my turn." It's like, "No, like this is a moment for interaction. This is all happening abstractly within a 10-minute span.
right.
I'm not going to give you like a full like round of actions, but like if you're interacting with someone walking by you, like that's a thing you can do in seconds, not minutes." And I
And
forget
I
even
would,
what he gave you like a piece of information or something. It wasn't like he didn't cast a spell or do a whole elaborate thing.
right. Or you're like trying to help somebody out of a trap or something like that.
Right, right.
That's a good DM thing, like dungeon turns. That's a good thing for beginner DMs to know. You can use you don't have to call it initiative order, but you can use an order of operations to get people from like either you can do this for a couple of reasons. One, it's easier, for you because you take one person's thing at a time. Secondly, it prevents one character or one player from dominating non-combat situations.
Yes,
So you can like if you have a player that's kind of like enthusiastic and they're doing that, you can help deter that. And you can also include characters who may have withdrawn for whatever reason temporarily from the table so you can bring them in and give them a chance to participate. And this is really good for teaching. It's really good for beginner players, and it's good for different personality types so that you can kind of like give a more even economy of action across the player.
absolutely. At the end of the day, it's a game, and there's a reason like most every game is turn-based in one way or another, right?
Yeah,
Like,
you can try to approximate simultaneous moves, but at some point you have to we are linear, we have to like sort things out, You
yeah,
can all roll your dice at the same time, or you can all slap the card on the table at the same time, or you can all grab for the card at the same table at the same time. But at some point the game has to pause so you can keep score, right?
and from the Dungeon Master side of things, if you guys like you had fanned out, it was a pretty
Yeah.
big map, well, essentially a maze that you're exploring. But if you were in the same room, a lot of the time, I will collect what everybody wants to do and then resolve it in the most interesting way narratively, right? Like if
Hmm.
this person's going to find the secret door, this person's going to find the treasure chest, and you're the first act, you were going to strike out, and this person's going to trigger the monster attack, then like even if the monster was going to come up first at the table turn-based, like people at the table wise, I'm going to resolve that last and I'm going to bounce around. Okay, you find nothing, you find a secret door, you find this treasure chest, this monster jumps out in the scariest way possible. Now roll initiative. And I
Right.
will say I've learned from experience. I used to do it just as initiative, right? Like I invented dungeon turns myself before I knew there was more of like a codified old school way of doing it.
Hmm.
Or I knew that, but I used to keep people in initiative and that made them a little trigger happy. You know,
Yes, right,
you're
because they
conditioned
associate.
to think that that's fighting.
Right.
So, and again, it doesn't like, okay. And it happened a little bit last night. People would move. We're like counting squares. It's like, no, this is 10 minutes, not 6 seconds.
Right.
You have your freedom of movement. So even if you're doing it the same way from the behind the screen, calling it something else from the player's perspective changes their experience of